Hey, it's Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success, where we share knowledge and tools for you to live your ultimate life. And Ageless, anti-aging for your brain, your body, and your future. And today I want to talk about the journey from your head to your heart. In your travels through the world of personal growth, you've probably heard more than once a variation on the theme that the longest journey one must take is from the head to the heart. My question is, does this really have to be such a long journey? I personally don't think so. I think it could actually be the shortest journey once you begin it. The problem is that we're so used to depending on our minds, on our intellects, and ignoring the promptings of our hearts that it can be an arduous task to extricate ourselves from our dependence on the logical, analytical brain and surrender to our simple, loving hearts. And one of the things that brings us out of the flow of life is living predominantly from our minds. The mind only knows how to analyze. It looks for what must be wrong. It divides. It sees the difference between me and you. It judges. It thinks about the future and what can go wrong, and it ruminates over the past and the mistakes we think we made. It holds impressions and programming from our childhood. And in some cases, it exaggerates negative past events and minimizes the positive ones, keeping us in this endless loop of fear and guilt and sadness and what ifs and why me. And it filters our perception of the world and the people in it through the untruths that were told to us by our parents and our teachers and our clergy and the media. And those untruths create new neural pathways about us not being good enough or smart enough or pretty enough or the right color or the right religion or the right gender or the right sexual orientation, or I don't know what else people told you. But they told you untruths about yourself, filtered through their life experience and their upbringings, but you believed them because you were a little kid and they still exist in your head, and your life is filtered through these untruths. The heart, on the other hand, looks for what's right. It unites. It sees how you and I are so alike. It connects us. It accepts without judgment. It trusts. It is the purveyor of truth. It lives in the present. And of course, the heart loves. The journey from the head to the heart can also be difficult because we somehow believe that if we move out of the mind and live from our hearts, we'll lose control. When the truth is that the only way to really have control is by giving it up, by surrendering and trusting. Again, I ask you, do you really have greater knowledge about how to run your life than that higher power, that power that has the 360-degree, 40,000-foot view? Actually, that has an infinite view, a higher power that always has your back, that will never lead you away from your good, even if it might seem that way. Here's the exciting part. All you have to do is to consciously, physically move your attention, your awareness from your physical head to your physical heart. It's so simple. And from there, ask for guidance. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how this worked for me in my life. So one day, probably, more than a decade ago, at this point, it's probably 2 decades ago, I remember discussing something with my son. Actually, some might say we were arguing. And I really thought I was right. And I'm giving him all of the logical reasons why I was absolutely right. And I'm going on and on and on as my very articulate, educated self, when all of a sudden a little voice reminded me to move my attention from my head to my heart. Because what I was actually doing was, by me being right, I was making him feel so small and so unintelligent and so inadequate. And when I moved my attention from my head to my heart, I actually started laughing inside. It was so ridiculous. I mean, maybe my points were valid, but who cares? Because inherent in me being right was him being wrong. Again, I was making him feel bad about himself. I was making him shrink. It wasn't that he needed to be right. He just didn't need me to make him feel like he was stupid and wrong. And as soon as I moved into my heart and I let go, he left the room and he came back a few moments later and he gave me a big hug and he told me how much he loved me. Did it really matter who was right and who was wrong? Would it matter a week from now or a day from now? All that mattered was the love. And when you really let go of your position, you're free to create a beautiful solution together, which is what Daniel and I did. Another time, I was about to go into a meeting, and I knew by the nature of what was going to be discussed that it was going to be intense. And I had all my points laid out very logically and all of my papers organized, and I was very prepared. And I was also very tense. So before I walked into the room, I remembered to take that journey from my head to my heart. And as soon as I did, I felt this incredible sense of peace. And I went into the meeting and it flowed more beautifully than I could have ever even imagined. I didn't need any of my prepared notes because what was anticipated to be a tense meeting, it actually became a love fest because I let go of being right and all I wanted was there to be love. Living true spirituality is the unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love. Love is our ultimate reality and our purpose on earth, but we can't live that purpose from the mind. So I want to end with a quote from the Bhagavad Tantra Sutras that goes like this. However your mind wanders, wherever you journey, return to savoring the luminous space of the heart. Again and again, return to where the breaths meet, fuse, and transform into each other. Rest the attention in your blessed core and continually be reborn into the thrill of a new world. So I wish you a week filled with the thrill of being reborn into a new world, filled with deep connection and love overflowing from your beautiful heart. See you next week. Bye for now.